This is such a bittersweet wrap up because it's gonna be my last wrap up in this room for some time. I don't know if it's gonna be a couple of months. I don't know if it's gonna be a couple of years, but the next wrap up will be somewhere totally different, somewhere across the country, which is actually crazy to say. 2 rows of books are missing from my bookshelf, and in this corner of my room, it's a little hint to what the next few videos are going to be about. Welcome to my summer wrap up. Welcome to everything that I read in the month of June and July. I read a lot of really good books and books that I feel like are going to stick with me for some time. I'm also currently reading some really good books. We're going to go in order of when I've read them, starting off with my current reads. I read a bunch of picks for my Around the World challenge, which I do plan to do an update on that challenge in a couple months. I think I'm gonna have a few more books on my list, but I have basically something from every genre on this wrap up. Horror, that's a new genre that I'm getting into. I have never ever really read horror like I have this summer, but I have some horror, I have some mystery, romance, middle grade, manga. Grab yourself a drink or a snack. Grab yourself a creature to cuddle with. To me, preferably cats, but you know, we all have our own opinions about the superior pet. Starting off with 2 books that I'm currently reading. First one being an Around the World pick, and a surprising little book that I just picked up in the library is Bad Badger by Mary Rose Wood. This is an Around the World pick for Italy, and it's a middle grade about this little badger. One second, girls. This book is about a badger named Septimus who is very different from a badger. He has spots instead of stripes. He doesn't really act like a badger in a lot of ways. He loves the sea. He loves his cottage. He loves drinking tea and taking his baths. And his best friend is a seagull named Gully. It is just like a wholesome slice of life of Septimus's life with his best friend, learning what friendship looks like, learning to accept his differences and understand he's still a badger even though he's so different from badgers. Also following Septimus talk to other badgers and learn to accept himself and learn how to be a good friend. It's truly adorable and extremely summery. This book is illustrated, and the illustration style is absolutely adorable to me. This is one of my book picks for Italy. I'm gonna finish this book tonight, knowing me. I'm loving this book so much. I can't imagine that my enjoyment will go down. The book is just so soft and gentle and sweet. Like, it's just so sweet. The next book is a new release which came out, I want to say this month. The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. I picked up and read The Spell Shop about a year ago now, maybe less than a year, but I read it last year, I'm pretty sure. Really enjoyed my time reading it, and this book is about a girl named Tarlu, who is the girl from The Spell Shop who was turned into a statue for using magic to create a sentient plant. Because magic is outlawed in this world, it's only for really elite people, and she uses magic because she's lonely to create this plant. She's turned into a statue. At the beginning of this book, she is awakened in the midst of winter, surrounded by all of these very whimsical and warm greenhouses, and the only person where she's located is the gardener in the greenhouses, whose name is Yarrow. So frosty and wintry so far. I almost wish that I saved this book for the winter, but the descriptions of the warm greenhouses and all of the colorful plants and stuff makes up for it, I feel. I'm not very far into this book at all, not like I am with Bad Badger. This one I'm about halfway through, and it's a middle grade. I'm probably gonna finish this tonight, like I said, but this one I'm only like 20 pages through. 35 actually, so I'll probably talk more about that in my August wrap up, just because I don't know a good bulk of the story yet. On to the actual wrap up now, what I've read and finished, starting off with June. The first book I read in June, which I posted my June TBR, I did do a fairly good job reading for my June TBR. I did read for Read Caribbean. I did read my Black History, a little bit of my Blackity Black TBR. Definitely not as much as I wanted to, but you know, we do our best. The first book that I read in the month of June was When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Gettin, which is a middle grade book, around the world pick for me, set in Sycamore. This is a book, a fairly short book, following a girl named Clara who lives on this island and had this bad accident last summer, and she can't remember what the accident was. She had this accident when a hurricane hit the island and another on the way to the town, and it's giving Clara some uneasy feelings. As well, she's kind of going through it with her best friend Gaina, who has been her best friend basically her whole life, who's also her cousin. I don't want to say too much because, like I said, it's fairly short. It's a middle grade. The reveals are pretty quick. But Clara's learning more about her family, island secrets, as well as trying to figure out what happened to her last summer. This book was so summery, and I enjoyed my time reading it. Basically, it was a really fun, really quick. Talks a little bit about grief and forgiving yourself. I'm not gonna say too much because I'm low-key veering into spoiler territory. So another Read Caribbean pick that I read right after that one is another around the world pick for France, and it is another one that I really enjoyed. A Tropical Rebel Gets the Duke by Adriana Herrera. This book, where do I start? This is about a doctor named Aurora and a duke named Apollo. Both of the main characters are Caribbean, and they are living in the elites of Paris. Aurora is living like this in nightlife because she's a doctor almost in secret. She visits her clients at night. Apollo is infatuated with her. Let's get straight to it. Where should I start with this book? So she's working in like the underbelly of Paris. He is definitely in the elites of Paris. Stop. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. The tension was so well drawn out. Him finding out what Aurora does, the things he does to woo her, the things he does to prove to her that he's interested in her. A man that just truly understands a woman's autonomy and a woman's complexity. Need that. And there were like some secretive elements to the book where there were people from Aurora's past coming back into the present trying to finagle their way in. There was the political complexity of Apollo, a brown man, being a duke in the 1880s, almost 1890s. Too good. I ate this book up. Bridgerton walked so this book could run. I am definitely going to be reading the rest of this series. If you like the romance books that I recommend, here's another one for you. Y'all know I'm obsessed with my historical romances. It's something about historical romance that will do it for me every time that contemporary romances just can't do for some reason. They just can't do it, and I can't put my finger on why. Next, I read a book that made me spiral into a wormhole of reading books just like this book, Lone Women by Victor Laval. Now, this is not a new favorite of mine at all, but I enjoyed it so much. It was like the atmosphere of this book just really hooked me in. So this is I would say it's more so horror than anything else, about a woman named Adeline who is moving east to go be a homesteader. She commits this violent, gruesome crime and act at the very beginning of the book, and the whole book is like you trying to figure out why she did what she did. As well, Adeline leaves her home at the beginning of the book with very few things, but most importantly, this steamer trunk that every time it opens, people around her start to disappear. It's something really dangerous and weird in this steamer trunk. So the whole book is you trying to figure out why she committed the act at the beginning of the book, as well as what on earth is in this trunk. It's kind of a book about having to carry your family's weight when the pressure on your shoulder just becomes too much for you to bear. Like the straw that breaks a camel's back. Like literally that's what this book is. But add like some grotesque, dark, dreary Montana vibes, wintry, spooky cabin vibes. And it's historical fiction. It's set in 1915. So there's also that historical element to it. The atmosphere and aesthetic of this book, guys, it really, really did it for me. And after reading this, I was like, maybe I'm a horror girl and I just don't know it. I need to figure this out. So I recorded my reading vampire books for a week vlog and ate up 4 different vampire books, which we're gonna get into right now. The first one, unfortunately, is a DNF, but I DNF'd it 200 pages into this book, so I'm counting it as a book read. I'm sorry. I am that person. If I spent more than 100 pages reading a book before I DNF'd it, that's a book read. Unfortunately. The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I cannot read horror books where they're overly gruesome and grotesque for no good reason, and I can't root for the main character, whoever is committing vile acts. If they're the main character and I can't root for them, I can't do it. I cannot do it. I cannot. The premise of it sounded so promising, which is also why it kind of upset me so much that I did not rock with this book the way I thought I would. And okay, wait, hold on, let me break the book down to you first. So this is what I thought would be a indigenous rage story. It's about the leader of this tribe, the Blackfeet, named Goodstaff, and he is the vampire of the book. I thought that the book was going to be a revenge story of him wreaking havoc on these colonizers' lives for killing his tribe, but it wasn't really that. And also we got this random point of view from a preacher. It was too much outside of the indigenous rage plot, including with Goodstaff. There was so much within his chapters that I was like, I don't know if this is a spoiler, slight spoiler warning for The Buffalo Hunter. If you don't want to know barely anything about this book, skip ahead a little bit. But there were like gruesome graphic descriptions of him feeding off of animals. What are we talking about right now? And it was so many times that they described how he would drink the blood of an animal and how he feasted on animals. And I'm like, okay, you haven't killed any colonizers yet. And I'm 200 pages in. Okay. Then we will randomly switch over to the preacher, and I just hated this man for no good reason. Like, I just don't want to read from this man right now. Like, anytime his chapters came up, I was just like, this guy again. I wanted to love it so bad. Like, I was so confident in this book, I went out and bought a copy before I even read it. But it is something that I would keep in my library because I do also like how audacious it was in its writing style and in who was the center of the story. I loved that. So I'm keeping it off of general principle, basically. Next though, I think that this may be a new favorite book of the year for me, quite frankly. Ring Shout by P. Gayle Clark. A very short book. This book is 181 pages long, and I've never read a short book like this that executes a story so well in quick pace. Like, I didn't feel like this book was rushed in any way. I didn't feel like the plot or the characters were one-dimensional. I felt like it was very well researched and very well written. This is about these 3 women that are demon hunters, and these demons in this world, also a historical horror set in 1915. They're cutting down these demons that look like clan members. A magical sword involved. There is a juke joint scene involved. This book is just so black. Like, it was just so black. I loved it. If you liked Sinners, hello. It's so good. The women were so humorous. The women all had their own different ambitions and goals. The juke joint scene, bro. The juke joint scene. I was transcending. I read it so quickly. It was so engaging. It was also so cultural and so beautiful in terms of what it was doing and saying with the ancestors. The magical sword is powered by the song of ancestors. And I saw a video of an actual ring shout recently. That just made the book even better for me. Oh, what a genius story. It's just a beautiful story. I absolutely love the story. I do. Then there was like themes surrounding music and the healing of music. Themes surrounding song and the power of song, the self-expression of song. Y'all know I got into playing the guitar. I'm taking music courses in the fall semester. I'm gonna be so insufferable. Like, once I actually figure out how to play this guitar, you girls are gonna hate to see me coming, for real. I loved this book very, very much. This is like in the top 5 of all of the books in this wrap up, which is a lot. Adored her. Go pick this one up immediately. I thought I was not a horror girly until I read this book. It was not very gruesome and graphic. You could root for the main characters. Like, I was listening to the Sinner soundtrack while reading the book. Too good. Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan LeFanu. Now this one is another one that I was like, about. I enjoyed it enough. After reading Ring Shout, it just wasn't hitting necessarily. This is a kind of sapphic story and one of the most original vampire stories about a vampire named Carmilla who's trying to seduce a human woman to feed. I don't know. This book, it was something about it that just did not give. Maybe it's because I felt like the closure was like the ending was Carmilla was very obsessive, and people do really promote this as a sapphic story, but the human woman was low-key lost, like confused. Like, you couldn't really tell if she actually liked Carmilla. It's not romantic at all. I enjoyed this enough. It's a classic. It came before Dracula. That's really all I have to say about this book. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I also didn't dislike it. I just thought it was literally okay, which is low-key the worst way to feel about a book. I would rather hate or love a book than feel like, oh, the next book. Another around the world pick. This is around the world pick for Mexico. Another vampire book, and a book I just absolutely loved. Now, Ring Shout was not a vampire story, but it was horror. It was the horror element, historical horror vibe that I was looking for. This one is also historical horror, but make it gothic romance, make it set on the Texas-Mexico border, and add vampires. The Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. This book was taking it. This is following childhood lovers Nena and Nestor. It's a forbidden romance. A little bit of a forbidden romance because Nena is the daughter of a rancher and Nestor is kind of more poor, and he's moving from ranch to ranch, working for the different ranches. Something happens where Nena is attacked by some type of creature in the night. And Nestor, believing that she's dead and knowing that her family like low-key hates him, runs away. I want to say 9 or 10 years later, they re-meet. Gothic romance. I'm talking tension. I'm talking pining. I'm talking yearning. The vampires in this book were described so vividly. Bro, this book had me paranoid. This book had me a little paranoid. Every time I saw a shadow in a tree and the sun was down, it was spooky and creepy and eerie, but the romance and the like everyday life of these two characters and just like the cultural atmosphere of this book, so good. And there's also like that commentary on how draining white supremacy is. Ooh. And colonization and cultural appropriation that sinners had. So there are definitely some reveals. It was so well paced. nothing happened too abruptly. There were moments of really good tension that were very well placed throughout the story. The romance was very well placed. And there were reveals about who the vampires were to the colonizers. Da 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 da. So much. And it was so good and so well written. I was in a chokehold reading this book. I was gripped at the neck, flying through this book. I was obsessed. It was so good. Obviously, because again, I bought my own copy of it. Same with Ring Shout. Screw that came on my chair, guys. Hopefully that doesn't mean that I'm gonna fall soon. Next, I ended up reading Dawn by Octavia Butler. Now, this book here is a sci-fi fantasy book about a woman named Lilith. This is the first book to the Lilith's Brood series by Octavia Butler, and my personal favorite first Octavia Butler book. It's the first Octavia that I've read completely. And it's about a woman named Lilith who wakes up in a foreign place and basically finds out that she's been abducted by aliens. Humanity has brought upon the end of itself, and these aliens save like the last surviving humans. And they're keeping them in these pods, and obviously they saved them for a reason. There's something that they want the humans to give them in exchange for being saved and in exchange for being allowed to go back to Earth, and that is to basically breed with them. This book was low-key freaky, but I definitely think that this book did not have as much discussion as I thought it would have when it comes to things like the diversity of humanity, how single like sex, single race species could kind of envy the diversity of humans and want that from humans. I was hoping that the book would have so much more discussion about that and about diversity in general, but it really didn't, which was kind of a bummer. So I liked it, but it wasn't at all what I was expecting. I do plan to read much more Octavia Butler in the near future. Then I read a book that's been on my TBR for actual years. The Talented Ribkins by Laddie Hubbard. This book is a family saga, not even a family saga, just like a family adventure about this man named Johnny Ribkins and his niece Eloise, who he didn't know he had. He gets into a bit of a situation and predicament in which he needs to scrape up some money, and he needs to scrape it up quickly. But luckily, he and his brother have hidden money all over the nation for emergencies, and he is going around on this road trip trying to dig up all of the money, collect the money, and pay who he needs to pay back. He ends up getting to his brother Franklin's house, who is now dead, and meeting his niece Eloise, and they kind of travel together from there. So the book is so much about finding out who you are, finding your family, learning your roots, all of that, as well as specifically this family, the Ribkins, all have some type of talent and gift. So Johnny's gift, what is Johnny's gift? Actually, he is a map maker. He can look at a building or a place and draw the map of the whole building. And that's kind of how he makes money, which it gets dangerous, and that's why he owes some folks some money now. His brother Franklin's gift was climbing things and climbing in general. And Eloise is Franklin's daughter, and she's trying to figure out what her gift is. It's so good, and just a slice of life summary adventure of this family. Specifically this uncle and niece going around doing things, talking to different people in their family, meeting aunties, reconnecting with people that have been left in their past. It was just so good. And it's just a book that I'm so happy that I've read right now. Like this one quote where he says, "Sometimes when I visit a place I really love, I like to leave something behind. That way I'll know I'll have to come back for it one day." And then this other quote, which is my favorite quote from the book: "Every step he'd taken had led him to the next, to exactly where he was now. He had become his path. All he could do was keep following it and have faith that there was a reason for it. Right path, wrong path. It was his path, and maybe the best he could do was try to be true to it. The next book, which is the last book that I read in the month of June, which I can't say it was my favorite of the month. This is Ring Shout, Vampires del Norte, and this book I think are my top 3. I don't know where they are in that 3 list. I don't know who's third, second, first, but I know they're the top 3. And that is another around the world pick also for Martinique and Cuba. Y'all knew a Beverly Jenkins was going to be on this list. Be honest, you knew that. Captured by Beverly Jenkins. You see this cover? Pirate romance. Pirate romance. It's a pirate romance. It's a pirate romance. This book is set in 1774, and it's about a man named Dominique who is a pirate. He's half white, black. He does not look like this man on the cover in my mind, but he's half black, half white, and his father just left him and his brother a inheritance after his passing. But of course, his brother wants to take it all for himself, including the people that are on the land. Dominic is like, not on my watch. Goes to Martinique, frees everybody, and sails to Cuba. On his way to Cuba, he runs into this other ship that Claire is enslaved on and frees Claire. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's Beverly Jenkins. Like, you know this. Claire has 2 enslaved children back at home, though, and that is like the biggest conflict of their relationship is how are they going to get home and free Claire's children. What also stood out to me the most about this book, not only just the vivid descriptions of sailing and being on the sea and daily life on the ship, just like the slice of life chapters, the back-to-back slice of life chapters of Claire being on the ship and not having to work for anybody, not having to wake up and make somebody food and be beat on all day, just literally laying back, and Claire experiencing such small luxuries every day. The way that Beverly Jenkins writes smallness, like the small beautiful miracles of life, like being able to see a sunset, being able to see the stars. This description of sailing. In another life, I was probably a pirate taking down slavers. Actually, y'all know how I feel about pirates. Y'all know how I feel about pirates. Read Caribbean and Around the World for Martinique and Cuba. Oh, loved it. Then we get into what I read in the month of July, which we started off the month with a picture book. We got into Summerween, which I had a blast reading for Summerween. I just like pretending it was fall for a week just really did it for me. It really did it for me. And I ended up reading these books during my Summerween vlog and readathon. So I did make a Summerween vlog. Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega. This book is about 2 best friends, Sid and Lucille. Lucille can see the ghosts of her ancestors through these fireflies that are surrounding her tree at home. And Sid is obsessed with folklore and witches and witchcraft, and she has a witchy grandmother. This book was so autumnal. Something happens in which the tree of Lucille's home is threatened, and so in turn the fireflies are threatened, and they have to figure out the magic to keep the fireflies around. There's a bunch of cats in this book. There is dreary, foggy October vibes. There is a cemetery. There's raising the dead. There's ancient magic. Huge dusty home libraries. And it was a middle grade book. It's a middle grade book, so it's so humorous. It's so lighthearted, but also covers subjects about eviction and home and family in a very digestible way. There is Dominican folklore, Dominican culture within this book, and Afro-Latina culture within this book. It was just so good. It was so good. I really enjoyed this book. So Sid and Lucille are going on these little adventures at night with this huge tabby cat who is like such a fun sidekick. He added so much humor to the story because there could be moments where Lucille and Sid need to run and obviously this fat cat can't run. So they have to pick up the cat, and they're tiny too because they're kids, and they're trying to run with this huge cat. He added so much humor to the story. The grandmother was amazing. I loved her character. This book was so good. I highly recommend this. Spooky season is on the way. The burn months are on the way, so get into this. The Skull is a pretty short book. This is written by John Klassen. It's a pretty short book, very beautifully illustrated book about this girl named Octavia who is running away from home and ends up stumbling upon this gigantic mansion where this skull is living, and she ends up befriending the skull and taking care of the skull, and they're drinking tea together, and it's very wintry and snowy and just such a quick, easy, cozy, spooky book. Like those types of books where it's like, this should be scary, but it's not. It's actually quite wholesome and cute and cozy. Then I read Coraline by Neil Gaiman, which I liked enough. I definitely did not like this as much as I love the movie. The movie has so much lore and depth to it. We're not even going to get into it because I yapped about it in my summerween vlog. I love the movie 10 times more than I love the book. But if you don't know the story of Coraline, you're severely missing out, and you should absolutely go watch the movie specifically. Coraline is about this girl who moves into this new house with her parents and ends up finding this door in the house that seemingly leads to nowhere. But at night when nobody's around and Coraline opens the door, it suddenly leads to somewhere. And this somewhere is a parallel world in which everything seems perfect, but the one thing that's really off about this world is every person and creature has buttons for eyes. Suddenly everything gets very weird and very scary. I love the story of Coraline. I love that movie so much. It's a comfort movie. I talked about all of these books in my summerween vlog, so I'm trying not to yap too much about them. Charlie and the Grandmothers by Katie Towell, which is another middle grade book, and this one is also in the horror genre in my opinion. And it is following a boy named Charlie, an anxious boy named Charlie, and his sister Georgie, who are randomly sent to live with their grandmothers. But the thing is, Charlie and Georgie don't have a grandmother. They've been told that their whole lives. Obviously something really creepy is going on with these grandmothers, and they end up having to take down this society, with this like secret society of evil and fear. Well, evil that's ruled and created by fear. Charlie, our anxious main character who fears a lot of things, has to be the one to do it. So wintry and atmospheric. Again, cats. And the conversations that the book is subtly having about thoughts and thinking and fear and like the power of your mind. Loved this book. It's something about it. This book was so reminiscent of The Witches by Roald Dahl to me, and that was one of my favorite middle grade books when I was younger. This book also included like a complex house, not necessarily a haunted house, but a house that's trying to like manipulate your mind because of how confusing it is. I enjoyed this book very much. I think this might have been my favorite book out of the week when it came to summerween. Then I also read The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. This is another around the world pick for France. This book is about a ghost or a man that is haunting the Opera House of Paris, and it's part detective story, part ghost story. This ghost or man is in love with the head singer of the opera, Christine Day. There were some things that I really liked about it, and that I really liked reading a book cover. I just don't think I loved this story in general. I felt like the first half was very strong, and then it started to like dwindle off as I read, and I felt like the Phantom was not developed enough for me, again, for me to root for him. I can't blindly follow somebody. I really can't. I love the way this book kind of wrote about terror love, like chaos love, where it's like this part says, "You love him is obvious. Your fear, your terror is just another sort of love, the most delectable kind, a kind you won't admit to, the kind that gives you a thrill when you think of it." That, I tell people about that all the time. That's something I talk about an ungodly amount, because some people genuinely enjoy struggle love, in which you're struggling to love somebody, the toxicity of it, the thrill of the toxicity of it, and like the chaos theory of toxicity being so much of a comfort that that's what you tolerate and that's what you're like drawn to. I love the way that this book kind of covered that. But yeah, I didn't absolutely love it. At a certain point, I started to like not get engaged anymore with the story. I was just like, I'm kind of ready for it to be over. And it's honestly too short for that. Oh, I did really enjoy the aesthetic of the opera house and the aesthetic of like the haunting of this opera house. Another around the world pick I read right after that was Khalil Gibran's Little Book of Life, which is a around the world pick for Lebanon in a book of poetry. Another one that I didn't really love. I thought it was okay. Second to last book of this whole wrap up, and I'm sorry we've been here for an ungodly amount of time. Well, I say second to last, but it's 3 books. I read the first 3 books to the Saturn Apartments manga series by Hisei Waoka. Book 1, book 2, book 3. I really enjoyed this series so far. Book 3 was definitely my least favorite so far because it was following a side character that I found insufferably boring. It's a manga series following humanity's life in this apartment complex, or in this metal tube like ring surrounding Earth. And inside the tube there's different levels that's obviously organized by class. You have your lower levels of your poor people, middle class, and then high class. And there's all of these apartments within the different levels where people live, where people work. And our main character's job, who is Mitsu, is being a window washer. So he's one of the people that actually washes the rims of the ring, which is very interesting. It's such a unique view and perspective on humanity, because you have the author's kind of imagining a world in which we don't have a lot of luxuries that, like I said, with Captured by Beverly Jenkins, is our natural luxuries, like being able to see the sky. And in this book specifically, you're not experiencing the luxuries of Earth or Earth itself because of how bad climate change has gotten and things. Earth has been made into a natural reserve, so you don't even have the Earth itself. It's part eco commentary, part slice of life of this window washer and one of the people, and like a person that honestly gets the closest to the Earth out of everybody. It's just really interesting and I really enjoyed it. I also just thought it was so cozy and cute and quick pace. Last but not least, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I did it. I have officially started the Realm of the Elderling series. I'm so happy, bro. I'm so happy. I'm so excited to read all 16 books, honestly, especially after this one. This was a fantastic start to the series. Now, granted, it's not very fast paced. It's honestly pretty slow paced. Not even medium paced. It's pretty slow paced, but the way this book was written is so like intricately dense. Like you're meeting people that you know are going to be set up to be something else in the next 5 books, in the next 6 books, or in the next 8 books. You know that certain people are going to be something weird. You know, it's just setting up so good. It's setting up so good. But there's also stuff that happened in this book that had me gripping my pearls, like had me shocked. Before I get too much into that, I actually wrote notes on this book. That's how much I liked it. Assassin's Apprentice is following Fitz, the bastard child of a prince within this world whose name is Chivalry. At the beginning of the book, he's 6 years old and he is being given to the royal palace, and the story is following him as he grows up and comes of age, somewhat on the outskirts of royalty, by being taught to be an assassin, because he is a bastard child, so he's not necessarily within the royal circle seriously, but at the same time he doesn't fit in with normal everyday people, because again, he's the bastard child of a prince, so he is royalty, but the royals don't treat him like he is. So he's in like the underbelly, secret parts of the royal society, which is really interesting to read. Like I said, a fantastic start to a series. This world is so atmospheric, you just sink into it because of the way that Hobb writes. Rather than just like being flung into the world or being characters being thrown at you, you like slowly meet people. You have short interactions with people who you end up meeting again, slowly become accustomed to the world, which this kind of writing style can be looked at as being slow at times, but I personally enjoyed that, especially for fantasy and for a fantasy series the size of this one. The descriptions are so vivid. When it was snowy, you could basically see the frost. When there was a garden, you could see the shrubbery. The political intrigue was built in such a gentle way and rapidly increased as Fitz started to age and could understand more of what was going on. And it definitely sets up for the next books in the series while still having a really satisfying ending. There was not a moment in this book where I didn't remember who someone was or where something was or what it looked like. She wrote in a way that's so memorable. I love the Fool and Burrage. I loved that, man. I can't even explain it. I don't know why I have such a soft spot for Burrage specifically. Above all though, I really liked the way that this book depicted loneliness, and loneliness when you're young, and how loneliness is such a companion as you grow up. I really enjoyed all of these books. Even my flops were still good. And I hope you enjoyed this extremely long video of all the books that I've read. What have you read recently? Let me know. I'm always looking for new stuff to read. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye!